so I'm going to stick to my notes, but I want to say hello and good evening to all of you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much, Commissioner, Ms. Brewster, Ms. Thomas, for inviting me. Representative Stovall, you got that bill passed, and with all this hard, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do. So thank you. I even mentioned, and we have more to do. We have more to do. So when I was asked to speak tonight, I found myself reflecting on my earlier adult life. I didn't realize the emotional drama I experienced and the impact it has had on me today. This made me think about that. I didn't realize that the impact really affected everything I did. As I recall specific circumstances, all sort of mixed feelings surfaced, sort of like PTSD.
Right.
I felt nervous, sense of hopelessness, anger, pity. The other part of that emotional cycle or experience, I felt love, being loved, caring, spiritual hopefulness. There are so many areas to discuss relating to being a single parent, and I have 10 minutes, so I'm going to stick to my notes. We prayed for that at my table. So I thought I would share, what I would share is also what I found most beneficial for me. My hope today is that you will also. My story is not unique. It's not the best. It's not the worst. The three most important components of single parenthood for me, and I think what's applicable to all single parents, and what I want you to take away from this evening is inspiration, compassion, and understanding the importance of it takes a village. Graduating from high school, I was excited, spiritually refreshed, ready to accomplish all challenges, entered the job world, and planned to complete education goals. I grew up in a close-knit, spiritual-minded, supportive family. I imagined having my own family with the same caring, loving atmosphere. I married at an early age, and a year later had a wonderful son. Almost immediately, the utopia balloon burst. I found myself not part of a warm, friendly atmosphere, rather a loud, hostile, constant arguing, and verbally abusive environment. As you might imagine, the situation was emotionally draining and physically devastating. Neither of us was ready for marriage, and no doubt both of us responsible for such a horrible family life. My family remained supportive throughout this ordeal, trying to help us make the marriage work. It was too late. It was over. Soon I found myself part of an emerging family lifestyle, the single-parent family. And that's becoming the largest family unit in our community, in our society today. And that's why this is so important. Back to the notes. But in the beginning, I felt numb, mentally drained, depressed, hopeless, drowning in tears. Felt guilty, wondering, could I have done something different to save the marriage? These feelings changed then to anger, blaming the husband. Perhaps you've experienced the same thing. In this most incredible depressed state, I realized the only hope for my son was me. I had to muster up enough strength to accept the reality of my predicament. Young, with few work skills, I was determined to do whatever is necessary to survive. I cleaned buses, apartments, worked assembly lines in auto factories, lawn work, trucking company, and my own business ventures. I moved to other states to find and maintain employment and for safety for myself and my son. I set aside my education and other personal goals with the greatest expectation of achieving them in the future to succeed with the immediate, most important accomplishment, and that's raising my son as a single parent. The experience over the years were not without disappointment, frustration, and abuse. Some of the most demeaning and devastating discriminatory practices against me was simply because I was a female, more pointedly a black female, particularly in the workplace. Some may say, why didn't you speak up when you were being mistreated? And we've all been in these positions before, and we as single parents have tough choices to make. Well, have you heard the saying that knowledge is knowing what to say, but wisdom is knowing when to say it? I could have spoken up back then, and boy, did I want to. With everything else going on, I didn't want to have to go to work and back to the notes. And so I could have spoken out, and the scenario would have gone something like this. I could get home and tell my son about my racist, sexist boss, and he said, and tell him, you know, I told him off today and everything, and my son would say, "Ma, you did great, but where's dinner?" Well, I got fired. So those are the tough choices and the places that we find as single parents we find ourselves in. And they are tough, but we have to make them all the time. You might have heard the adage that a wise old owl said in a tree, the more he heard, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't we be like the wise old owl? Unfortunately, there exists today, in my opinion, a stereotypical attitude in society generally and in the workplace specifically that black single mothers are immoral and lazy. The absence of a proportionate number of black women in administrative executive positions in the corporations would suggest to me we are viewed as less competent to other women or just discriminated against. The hardships, disappointments, discrimination made me more determined to succeed personally and to work equally as diligent helping the underserved other single parents. I was sure I am not alone. Every day I wake up in my personal life and as a public servant is to try to help someone make their life a little bit easier and a little bit safer. Because with the hardships came understanding, compassion, and help. And in my case, my family, my siblings, and close friends. But I also received support from other women who knew my struggle firsthand. While it was not easy for me to ask for or accept help, this village made a huge impact on my success as a single parent and therefore on my son. Historically, parenting was primarily a dual responsibility shared by a mother and father. In an agricultural society, families worked together, played together, worshiped together, solved family problems together, and for the most part stayed together. Advent of urban industrialization saw marked changes in amount of quality time parents spent with their children. One or both parents working outside the family. Children spending long hours away from the family for their education, social, recreation needs. So in other words, urban life changed the way the family members interacted with each other. These changes resulted in more outside influences which disrupted the unity of the family and the way it functioned. Evidence indicated as an increase in family conflicts, parental supervision, children disrespecting parents, spousal differences, separation, and divorce. So consequences of these changes are devastating. Single-parent families are often a consequence attributed directly or indirectly to the urban experience. In the traditional two-parent family, and this is why single parents are awesome and deserve a lot more. In the traditional two-parent family, the 24/7 parental responsibility is shared by both parents, by two people. The same 24/7 parental responsibility exists in the single-parent family. On any given day or every day, that single parent must work long hours as a cook, nurse, waiter, educator, disciplinarian, social planner, banker, mind reader, and friend, and care. That's right, and care for the child's physical, mental, spiritual, and social development. What help is there for that single parent? It takes a village. It takes legislation.
Yes.
So the same things that a two-parent family enjoys or experiences, the single parent has to do the same. But it's important to support and find a way. Let me go back to my notes. To compensate, well, we give compliments and do credit to the single parent, but we need to do more in a concrete way to help the parent help the children. Without positive outlets or means of dealing with his or her own daily stresses, anxiety, social needs, loneliness, physical tiredness, external verbal and emotional abuse makes it difficult for that single parent to continually function effectively 24/7. To compensate for lack of positive outlets or opportunities to deal with his or her own emotional needs, some unfortunately make poor choices, resulting in abuse, child neglect, and other unfortunate consequences. If nothing more than wishful desires, the parent should be able to look forward to weeks of annual paid vacation, days off each week, daily time out, rest period, and of course financial compensation carrying the responsibility of the absentee parent. Compensation should be enough for the parent to acquire safe alternative arrangements. Why do I say this? Certainly not to disregard the needs of the children in any way. A healthy, alert parent is an effective parent in a position to make sound, positive decisions that are in the best interest of that family and of those children. And if you think about it, a mother bird that has little chicks, the mother bird has to fly and get food and bring it back to the nest and protect the baby chicks. But if something happens to that mother, what happens to the chicks? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing in a single parent family. We are hearing more about living wages, productivity in the workforce. We must remind our leaders, lawmakers, that the changes in family dynamics requires more for all, especially our single parents. I remember when I needed extended child care and aftercare, the expense. There were many tough decisions to make, as I'm sure you make every day. I always said that if I was ever in a position to make a difference, I will, and I did. I first pay better than most county offices, and I can thank my commissioner over here that always supports that, because I've always fought for a living wage. It should be higher, but I know what it's like, Representative Stovall, what it's like when we don't have a decent living minimum wage, which is a joke, but back to the notes. Okay, I'm wrapping it up. Okay, I also allow children to come to work with their parents in my office when they have issues with school and school closings and health problems and so forth. Now, I get to be part of the village. I spoke with my mom last night about tonight. My mom said to me, I could never have done what you did. I am so proud of you. I was brought to tears, and her comments reminded me how important we are to each other. Sharing a hug, a kind comment, recognition of the struggle further strengthens us as a single parent to continue. Maybe years from now, someone might say, that woman who spoke at the conference in 2019 is like the wise old owl and inspired me. You are amazing, powerful, loving single parents making adults, and I'm proud to be here with you tonight. So friends, get involved, stay involved, help make our purpose a success. Help make a new family arrangement a reality that is free of suffering and free of misery. The village I am a part of got me through. You are a part of this village, and it will for you too.